Hi friends, in this video I want to go over what we did this past week and what our plans are for the next week on our home build. So just jumping straight into it, on Monday we went out there. We were going to start working on plumbing on Monday, but my uncle and my brother-in-law were going to help us because we've never done it before, but they were both, they had to stay at work later. So Monday we came to the property and we put up the perimeter insulation. As you can see in this clip here, these sheets are actually pretty expensive. I didn't know what their price was, but they're $48 right now in Home Depot. We only needed 5 sheets, and we found the 5 sheets we needed 75% off because I think somebody returned them. So instead of paying like $275, it was like $80 for all 5 sheets, which was awesome. So you just cut them in half and then you rip like a 45-degree angle along the top, and then you just put it right next to the foundation stumble. That inspection was pretty easy to pass. I scheduled that one along with the plumbing inspection. So that was Monday. Tuesday, we started the plumbing. My uncle and my brother-in-law were able to come out. I wouldn't have been able to do it without them. Obviously, I've never done it before. I've never, ran plumbing. All I knew was everybody kept telling me, as long as you have the slope, it's super easy. And I feel like after working with them for 2 days, seeing kind of the strategies, the techniques they use, I feel like I can do plumbing, in the ground plumbing, or like Roughin plumbing now myself. Whether I can do it or not is a whole different story, but it seems pretty self-explanatory. So we started that on Tuesday. We had probably a few hours before it got dark. And we used those to the best of our ability. We got probably 75% done. I scheduled the inspection for the perimeter insulation and for the plumbing for Thursday. It's usually next business day. So I scheduled those. Wednesday we came out there, finished it. We actually stayed out there pretty late and finished it just with flashlights. And then we put all the caps on, and I glued a 10-foot piece of pipe so you can pressurize it the next morning. It was kind of a hassle because we forgot to drain our hoses, and Wednesday night it got super cold. I don't know, it was probably like maybe 20 degrees Fahrenheit, so the water in the hoses froze, and I came out there and it was just a huge hassle trying to fill up the pipe. And then we filled it up to the tippy top, to the 10-foot mark, and the water kept going down, so that means we had a leak. Which we did have a leak, and we found that leak actually. I'll explain that here in a minute, how we found it. So that was Wednesday. Wednesday we didn't pressurize anything. We were, banking on the fact that we were going to be able to do it on Thursday, and there was going to be no leaks, and it was going to be fine. But then when we filled it up, the water level, you fill it up to the very tippy top of the 10-foot pipe, and then if the water level stays at that level, then for like an hour or whatever, I think that's the minimum. It has to stay at the level for an hour. But if it doesn't, then that means you have a leak somewhere. And we had a leak, and we found the first thing we checked, the most common issue is your caps, because the caps only have about maybe 3/8 of an inch where the cap meets the pipe. So sometimes, I don't know, in my little experience, that was where our leaks were. Both of them were on caps. One was on an 1.5-inch shower drain, and the other one was on a toilet. That toilet cap, man, we probably replaced it like 4 or 5 times, because we would replace it, and then for some reason it would just leak again, and we couldn't figure out why. And every time you had to replace it, you had to drain. So you make a hole in the top of it, and then you had to drain all the water out of the system, and then replace it, cut it off, glue on a new cap, and then pressurize the system. Just add water to the 10-foot pipe again. So we did that 4 times probably, and then Thursday night, we finally cut it off lower, because we cut it off so many times that there wasn't much pipe left. So we put on a coupler, put on another piece of probably 18 inches of pipe, and then glued on a new cap, replaced the shower cap as well, and then we kind of risked it, and We waited until Friday, and I came and pressurized the system. Actually, I added water to the top. I got on a ladder, added water to the top, and it looked like the water was still going down. And at that point, I was like, whatever. We'll see what the inspector says. Worst case, he'll just have to come back out on Monday. I was kind of worried because if he has to come back out, more than twice to check something, he might have to pay extra, and it's just a hassle. But then my dad stopped by the property about an hour after I was there and topped it off. And he's like, the water's still at the very tippy top. And then we passed the inspection, thankfully. So I feel pretty confident that our plumbing the Roughin plumbing under the slab is done and good to go. And I hope we didn't move the pipes, because some of the pipes need to be right on the wall. And I feel pretty good about it. I feel good about the system. We don't have any leaks, at least on the joins and on the couplers and stuff. There were a few leaks on the caps, like I said. So Friday we finished that off, and then Saturday we came back. We started filling in the trenches, as you can see in this clip here. We started filling in the trenches. So actually, before we laid the pipe on Tuesday, we had this topsoil material. It's actually like sand brought in. One of my friends, he owns a large piece of land nearby, and he has a whole bunch of different materials. So he brought this topsoil material, and we aligned the bottom of the trench with about, I don't know, maybe 5-6 inches of this soft material, sand, and then laid the pipes on top. And then, since it was sand, it was easier to dig in, and we can get our slope 1/4 of an inch per foot. It was much easier to work with, and it also serves the purpose that when you're compacting, you're not going to get any small rocks puncturing your ABS pipes. So we put sand below, and then also on Saturday we came out and we put sand on top of the pipes, probably a good 8 to 12 inches of sand on top, sand and just topsoil that I found various places around the property. Took some from a pile, and we cleaned up some of the good dirt around the edges, as you'll see in this clip here. Me just walking around with the wheelbarrow, picking up dirt from random places. And then my uncle was kind enough to come out again with his mini excavator. He is a champ. He's been helping us out a ton, digging the trenches and now backfilling it. And he also backfilled our foundation stem wall, and he brought his little plate compactor. So we were compacting right away, and I'm really happy with the work we got done yesterday. So I'm recording this on Sunday. We finished this off yesterday, and now we're ready for the under the slab prep. We, as you can see here a little bit to the left here, you can see a pile of gravel. That's 5/8 minus. That's what the material's called. It's basically just the size of the rocks are 5/8 of an inch and smaller. At least that's how I understand it. And the important thing is that there's all different sizes of rocks, and larger rocks 5/8 of an inch, and then you have smaller little pebbles, and then you also have sand. And since it's a mix, you can compact it very nicely, because the smaller rocks fill in the holes between the larger rocks and then the sand, and the tiny rocks fill in the holes between the pebbles, if that makes sense. Versus if you bought like some drain rock where they're all the same size and there's no small rocks, it doesn't lock in and you can't compact it very well. But this 5/8 minus material is pretty common to use for under slab, or if you have a driveway, actually have the same material on the driveway, and that compacted very nicely. So my friend, the guy who's doing excavation for us, he brought about 20 yards, and he dumped it up there. As you can see a little bit here on the left, there's a pile there. And so our plan is sometime this week, we want to rent a skid steer and then use the skid steer to spread out this 5/8 minus material all around where our slab is going to be. And we want probably 4 inches of concrete, so we're just going to have to check the grade and make sure we have 4 inches of concrete more or less everywhere besides where the footing is going to be for the slab. So we're going to have a footing, and then we also have a few runs across the slab for underneath the load-bearing walls. But that's what we accomplished this week. I'm happy with the progress we've been making, and and also happy that we're ready, happy that we're done with plumbing. And I'm super grateful for my uncle and my brother-in-law that they were able to come out for 2 days, and my uncle came out 3 times this week. Super grateful and glad they were able to do that. And also, I'm happy that we're ready to start working on the slab preparation, and we're hoping to pour it. Our ambitious goal is to pour it on Friday. I'm going to see if I can get a concrete truck out on Friday, and then we'll, if it's not prepped, if it's not prepared for slab or for concrete, or if it's super cold, we can always cancel it. So I'll call around, see how fast we can get concrete out, but hopefully in the next 2 weeks we'll have the slab done, and then we can work on the ICF blocks. And then once we have the ICF done, that's going to be all of our important concrete work, or like not important, but all of our stressful concrete work is going to be done. All we're going to have left is the garage footing, the garage stem wall, and then some post holes for the deck and for the porch in the front. Yeah, and then at the very end we'll have to pour some patio and some just like by your garage slab, and also in the front of the house. But that's at the very end when you're almost ready to move in. So like I said, I'm super happy with the progress we're making. This week has been very stressful for me at work. I've had a bit of a midlife crisis in my mid-20s, imagine that. But it was super nice to be able to go out to the property and to just work with my hands and kind of let my mind relax a little bit. So I'm hopeful for the future. I think we're going to make good progress. I'm hoping to get the ICF blocks poured in the next month, in the next 2-3 weeks. And I think we can probably do it if we keep working hard. Anyways, that's all I wanted to give an update on. Thank you for watching. I will see you guys next week. Bye.